Good day, everybody. My name's Tim Hughes. I'm the Director of Communications for Spirit Invest. Today it's my great pleasure to speak to Marc Wiese, who's the Managing Director of Orion Wealth Managers. So welcome, Marc. Good to speak to you again in this series that we have. Today we're going to address the topic of offshore investing. And I think there's a sense, isn't there, out there with South Africans, that investing offshore is somehow unpatriotic. Is that true?
No, certainly not. I think as South Africans, we live here, we spend our money here, and we love this country, effectively raising our families here. But from an investment point of view, it really does come down to diversification. And diversification is certainly not disloyal or unpatriotic at all.
So, Marc, what is the real purpose of investing offshore? Break it down for us so we understand it more clearly, please.
Well, as I've mentioned, diversification really is a key tool to providing a client with a smooth investment ride. It's the old adage of putting all your eggs in one basket carries huge risk. Now, when looking at South Africa makes up approximately 0.5% of the global stock market. That's 0.5, less than 1% of the entire global stock market. And I think everybody would agree, investing a large amount of your life savings into something that's such a small element in the entire world carries a huge amount of risk. One would also need to consider the fact that a lot of the South African companies do have offshore diversification. The likes of Process and Naspers and other entities out there. A lot of our mining stocks do export out of South Africa, but it is still based in South Africa and prices are still based upon South African investors. We're looking at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange as well as some of the other smaller stock exchanges that we have in South Africa. I think things can get also a bit more complicated in terms of the overall investment structure for clients. It's not just local and offshore, it's also different sectors that are available out there. And when looking longer term, I think there'll be different growth sectors over the next 5, 10 and 20 years. And certainly the expectation is stocks and industries such as AI, biotech, energy, simply stocks and industries that don't exist in South Africa and don't exist on a local stock exchange. So for clients to have access to those long-term expected growth stocks, it's simply not available, and one has to diversify in order to have access to it. I think looking at South Africa and going back to the point around certain risks, once again, I've mentioned we love this country. It's an amazing place to live, but it does carry risks, sort of political risks, event risks, potential sanction risks. I think the list goes on. Extending that further into what it does to the currency, what it's likely to do to share prices. Although we've had a really good run the past couple of months and even this past year, largely bolstered by the likes of Naspers and Process, as well as gold stocks, which is at an amazing rally, as well as some of the other minerals and resources. But these things are cyclical, and to have access to a global market that's not dependent on only South African currencies and bond rates certainly does allow for diversification, a lot smoother ride for clients over the longer term.
What about our economy and its growth rate? Is there something about the South African economy? Are we performing quite well? Is our growth rate comparable to developed or developing markets as well? Is that another factor?
Looking at South Africa, there's different economists and different forecasts, but realistically, we're growing in the area of 1.2% per year. Now, as an emerging market, that's way behind our emerging market peers. We're currently looking at a global growth rate of the global GDP of around 2.5%. Even some of the developed nations out there are growing at 1.5%, 2%. Emerging market peers, somewhere in the area of 2, 3, 4, 5, even 6, 7% in some cases. So we're lacking hugely in terms of economic growth, and I think there are several reasons around it. And these things ultimately do have an effect on share prices. It's got an effect on inflation. It's got an effect on currencies and potentially a devaluation of the currency over the longer term, which we've certainly seen over the past 25, 30 years in South Africa.
That's an interesting comment. So are you suggesting as well global assets, do they help protect purchasing power and smooth volatility as well? Would you say that's the case?
Yeah, I think for most South African clients, like most things, you don't want to be extremes on either side. And investing all your money in a South African basket of goods or a global basket of goods presents its own risks. So I'll go back to the point of diversification. And each client's different. Some clients who only live in South Africa that might have certain shorter term goals. We've got amazing fixed income rates in this country compared to the returns clients are getting on government bonds and other floating rate notes and I suppose in corporate bonds and certain money market instruments, which we believe provides a really, really good yield for clients. And we still live in South Africa. Most of our clients still live here. They're spending rands, and the ability to have access to rands that doesn't fluctuate with the likes of the market, as well as with currencies and exchange rates. So once again, I'll go back to the point of it comes down to each client, their specific goals and needs, their age, their risk profile, but in most cases, some type of balance or diversified structure which has local, international, different sectors, perhaps even passive and active management added together. For most clients, it will probably provide the right overall investment structure.
Thanks, Mark. I know you've spoken about passive and active investing in a previous video. So the message there is you're not suggesting that South Africans invest all their money offshore, which is encouraging as well. So just to wrap up then, what would you say are the key takeaways for investors? What's the sort of final messaging you'd like to give to investors with regard to offshore investing? What do we need to know?
Well, ultimately, each client's different, and each person's goals and requirements for the future are generally very, very different. And that's why I would propose for any individual considering offshore investing, local investing, or the entire investment portfolio, as well as their longer-term planning, meet with a qualified and experienced financial advisor, someone that knows what they're doing, that have been around for quite some time, to put together a comprehensive plan. I think a lot of people be caught out trying to do things themselves and perhaps structuring things in not a very tax efficient way. And generally in these type of scenarios, you only realize it once it's too late. So, speak to us. If you need to reach us, call us on 0800 50 50 50. Speak to one of our Warwick Wealth specialists, or if you're really a client of Warwick, please speak to your Warwick Wealth specialist, advisor, or planner if your portfolio is positioned the right way, as well as any changes in your future goals.
Oh, that's excellent. Thank you very much indeed, Mark. Just to wrap up though, can we look in future perhaps about how to invest offshore? Because you've explained the importance of diversification and the importance of offshore investing, but I think there are still areas where we need to understand how our investors, how the public can invest offshore. Could we look at that in a future video?
I think the most South African investors, all the way from apartheid and sanctions against the country, there's certain misperceptions about how to invest offshore. And generally it's not that complicated, especially with a solid and qualified financial advisor to assist you with the process. And there's different ways to go about doing so, but I think we're running out of time. I propose if you guys want to dial in for next month's video, we'll be discussing how to invest directly offshore. Thank you.
We look forward to that, Mark. Thank you very much indeed. I think this is the last video we'll be doing this year in 2025. So I think from both of us, we extend blessings and a peaceful and happy end of year. And we look forward to being back with you in early 2026. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys.